Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be a massive replant of this Dutch style planted tank. Some of you may have watched part 1 of this video. If you haven't, go and watch it. In the last video I showed the new plants I added, what was the idea for this tank overall. So for today's plan is going to be a massive chop of the Pogostemon. So don't get me wrong, it looks amazing, but it is actually not doing that well. Because it has grown so high and I haven't trimmed it back, the light isn't actually getting to the bottom of the plant. It's also taking up quite a lot of space in the tank, almost half of the front section actually. So I'm going to completely rip it out and replant only the healthy parts of the plant. So if we take a look at the Bacopa purple I planted in the last video, you can see that there is a lot of melt back. I do hope a few of the stems will make it, but you know, it does happen and it can be unfortunate. That being said, I do actually see some new leaves and a little bit of new growth. I don't really know if you guys can see how big this Pogostemon actually is compared to my hand. It is absolutely massive. It's actually not easy cutting through the stems because they've actually grown so thick. Now that I have lifted the plant and I can actually see under it, I do actually see quite a lot of detritus that's accumulated. Commonly that would be called a dead spot. It's a spot where the flow doesn't push through and it just accumulates a bunch of organic matter, waste. Obviously having a little bit of that in your tank is completely normal, but I do think what I'm looking at is just a little bit too much. So I do think it's a good call to chop all this down and give everything a good clean out. I'm now taking out all the trimmings into the small container. I will then trim them and choose the ones that look the best to be able to replant them. Don't know if you can see how thick some of these stems are. It's actually quite impressive. It looks like a stick. Here we are left with some of the stems, some roots, so obviously I can't actually replant over this, so I do have to take it out. The camera isn't actually picking it up too well, but you can see a lot of detritus that's trapped itself between these roots and the stems, so I am making quite a mess here and I will have to water change after I finished. So as I said earlier, this is the part where I sort everything out. I trim back any unwanted roots, any dead roots, any parts of the stem that are just too big to be replanted, and I select only the best ones. So I'm going to show you something quite funny quickly. You can clearly see where the plant was not getting enough light. They kind of look like mini palm trees, to be honest. So because the light wasn't able to reach the very bottom of the stem, you can clearly see the plant had only produced leaves at the top. So this is my small selection of the best parts that I'm going to be replanting. The rest I'm actually going to be composting. So before replanting, I am going to perform a small water change because it has made a mess pulling out all the plants. There's also a lot of detritus floating around in the water column. So I'm also trimming up the Altaventra and replanting it. It's just going to give it more density and it's going to fill out the back of the tank, and hopefully in time when it grows out it will hide the heater a little better. As you can see, I am spacing them out quite a bit when I'm planting them. It's just going to give them more room to grow and also for the light to get to the leaves this time. So we are now 2 days later. Let's take a look at the tank. So it is looking a lot tidier, a lot cleaner. You can see it is starting to look a little more like a Dutch style planted tank, which is the goal. Obviously it is now going to take a good month, I do think, to grow in, as this tank does not run with CO2. So there will be a follow-up video on how the scape is doing in about a month. As always, I hope everyone enjoyed the video and I will see you very soon. Thank you for watching.